Hello and welcome. Today we're talking about installing and updating device drivers. I know we've covered this several times already, but we're going to dive in a little bit deeper with this video. So device drivers control the actual code. They're going to be the software portion that allows you, the user, and your interactions to connect to and manipulate hardware. That's essentially what we're doing. So when you click on print, for example, the computer needs to know how to send the print job to the printer. When you move your mouse, when you click the mouse, you right click the mouse, the computer needs to understand what those actions do and how to function and how to do them. So the operating system or the software will work best when we can issue certain standard-based commands to do certain things. This is where the drivers come in. The drivers take a standard set of instructions from the operating system and interpret and then issue the commands to the hardware to perform whatever action you want to do. You right click. That may not be, the right click action is going to be the hardware component. That will send the data signal to the computer. The computer will have to interpret it and understand what that means. If you have a video card and you want to use a new video setting on the card, you're going to have drivers that are specifically designed for that video card to get them to function. Where do you download drivers? In previous videos, we've already seen that Microsoft loves to do their own generic-based drivers, or they have drivers that cover most hardware. Again, this isn't everything, but this is a big portion of hardware in today's society or in modern day computing have a Microsoft equivalent driver set that will work. So where do you get drivers? Well, we already know Microsoft comes with a lot of them preloaded, but you can also download them from the manufacturer's website. We've seen in previous videos, downloading from the manufacturer's website often yield different drivers. So which are better? Realistically, in today's world, Microsoft will install their generic ones, but the issue is you typically want to get the driver set from the manufacturer that makes the hardware. That way you can get the software portion that will run the hardware correctly. Microsoft does a great job at doing this, but they're not always going to be the best driver set that you can get. For example, you may have an NVIDIA GTX Ti 1080. Microsoft will give you a generic driver that might get, display working on that video card. However, if you want the best performance out there, you're probably going to get the drivers from NVIDIA. You go directly to the manufacturer for the drivers. So the author gave a really good example of a barcode. The issue is, if you've done this long enough, you're going to notice it's quite common that drivers, if not done correctly, make hardware not run well. I have a Surface. Microsoft released an update that installed a new wireless driver for my Surface. Well, my wireless doesn't work half the time. And it has been horrible. It's been about 6 months getting it to work. And most people go, oh, well, why don't you just remove the driver, install a new driver? Well, when you have a Windows device, Microsoft likes to use their driver. So Windows kept replacing my driver with the Microsoft signed driver, and my wireless would stop working. And round and round and round for several months. However, recently, they have pushed out a new update to fix the wireless driver issue in most Surfaces. Hardware should work out of the box, but it doesn't. So sometimes you need to make sure you have the most current drivers. So where do you download those drivers? Again, the rule of thumb is go to the manufacturer. Always go to the manufacturer. So normally we call the manufacturer the third-party downloads or third-party downloading. Well, realistically, if you bought, a Corsair gaming keyboard, you probably want the software that runs the keyboard. It's not a Windows driver, it's the manufacturer's driver. So those are the two main avenues. However, you can get a true third-party download, and that is where you have like a third party that does all the driver updating for you. And there are some driver utilities out there that will do just that. They'll scan your PC, find the drivers, find the hardware that you have, and then find the drivers for that hardware. However, I found more and more of those are more viruses and more malicious content than it actually is driver downloads. So you do want to be careful, because sometimes it's very malicious, or they have the possibility of being malicious, not that they're always malicious. So how do we view the driver? Again, we already know, go to Control Panel, go to Device Manager, and we can drill down on the hardware inside Device Manager. We've already done that. Updating, same process. Go to Device Manager, go to the proper driver set, right click, Update Driver. And again, it will either do a Windows update, or it will ask you specifically for which one. Remember, this is the area that you can also do driver rollback if a driver is malfunctioning. Remember that the process of rolling back a driver, go to Device Manager, go to the device, being able to look at the properties, there should be a driver tab, and there should be a rollback driver if there are any drivers that are left that you upgraded from. Any previous driver sets that should still be there. You have to remember, if there's no driver previous, it will not roll back. We've already discussed about disabling and re-enable devices. You right click, you can disable them. That essentially makes them non-functional. And then you can right click and enable them to make them functional. You can have a piece of hardware that's plugged in but not enabled, thus they're not able to be used. And lastly, we have the uninstall or reinstall a device driver. Same process to the Device Manager. We've already looked through this. Uninstall, run through, and go ahead and click on the uninstall option. At the end of the day, you want to follow the hardware vendor's recommendations. If they say install it this way, you install it that way. Older systems, you used to have to install the software first before you installed the drivers or plug in the device. So if you get a hardware device and it says, please install software first, make sure to do that first. Because if you don't, it may not actually function. Driver signing is the last major topic. So in the world of hackers and viruses, one need to be addressed is the possibility that drivers can be compromised. So downloading drivers from a reputable source is what you want to focus on. You can run the sigverif.exe or sigverif.exe, and this will actually bring up the signature verification box. You can verify if your drivers have been signed. Essentially, they will be signed by the manufacturer to verify that they are who they are, and they will be signed by Microsoft, showing they've passed a certain level of testing to prove that yes, they are correct, yes, they work with Windows 10, yes, they work without any issues. The nice thing here is, with Windows Vista, they required all the drivers to be signed, and there was issues. Well, that didn't last very long. You can actually now, after that, install non-signed drivers. But, the important part is, you could enforce, or you could force driver signing on all drivers. Driver signing on all drivers. It was kind of up to your choice. Signing the drivers have growing popularity in the last several years, so more and more drivers are now being signed. So again, signing is just a way to verify the drivers. Alright, so that is our drivers in a nutshell. Questions, concerns, please feel free to reach out. Thank you.